guys, welcome. It's your boy Japanese Tutor, back at it again. This time we're gonna take a little turn. Instead of doing some end game content, I decided I wanted to do some beginner content, just to make sure that everybody's up to speed and can understand what we're saying. Um, Here we go, and yeah, I mean most of the stuff you guys should know, um, but I'm just putting it out there. So chess is a turn-based game. So that means that you make a move, I make a move. You make a move, I make a move. At no point can a player make two moves in a row. Okay. So we're gonna start off with the pawns. These are all pawns. The ones right here, you have 8 of them, and they have a point value of 1. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do, pawns can only go forward, right? They can never go back. They can only move forward. Okay. Once you move a pawn, it can never go back to the square that it moves from. Okay. So pawns move one square at a time. I make a move, you make a move. I make a move, you make a move. Okay. Um, Now a pawn is deemed stuck. They cannot move when another piece is in front of them. The way they take a piece is diagonally. They can take either this way or this way, only when something is there. So, let's say he makes a move. Oh, it's white to move. I make a move. He makes a move. I make a move. Okay. Here, this pawn can now capture the square. Now he can advance. Okay. So let's do that again. Boom. He can capture. Let's say this. I make a move. You make a move. I make a move. You make a move. Okay. So we're gonna stop right here, and I want you to ask yourselves, and I'll give you about a minute. How many possible ways can white capture a pawn? It'll take a few seconds. Figure it out. If you're on my live stream, you can just go ahead and put it in the chat. If not, or if you're on YouTube, you can pause the video and then put the comments below to all of the answers if you want. Okay, so this one, it is 1, right? 2, so they can both take the same pawn. 3, 4. All right, awesome. Pawns, when they're at home, so let's go back. This is home for the pawns, all these. This is home, the starting square for the pawn. When they're at home, they can go 2 squares, like this. Okay. Now that this pawn is not at home anymore, it can never go 2 squares. Again, it can only go 1 square. Also, it can never go back. Okay. Pawns also have another cool thing about them is that when they reach the end of the board, they can become another piece. Now, the popular misconception is that you can revive a piece that has fallen. So, let's say your opponent takes a knight, then you can only revive a knight. That's a very very popular misconception. Um, so you can take any piece that you want. So you can take, well, not any piece, but a queen, a bishop, a knight, or a rook. Doesn't matter if your opponent has taken them or not. You can have up to 9 queens, right? Because we have the original queen plus the 8 pawn. So 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay. So so let's just demonstrate this. So I'll just move 2 squares after. Takes. right? And you get a choice: queen, knight, rook, bishop. Okay. Most of the time, 95% of the time, actually 98% of the time, you are going to get a queen. Um, the queen is just the strongest piece, okay? And it's just that's what it is. But sometimes in some rare cases, another piece makes sense. All right. One more thing with the pawns, and then we're done with the pawns, and we can move on to the next piece. Okay. Um, Pawns. You know that they can go 2 squares instead of 1 square. So some people might try to go 2 squares to avoid the pawn's capture square. Okay. Now this is well, he is skipping your square, but we have a special move called en passant. It's French for in passing. So what you can do, and it's only on your next turn, okay, is that you can take this pawn, the pawn that just moved. You can take this pawn by taking it like it was on your capture square. Okay, let me demonstrate that. So to avoid your capture square, this is the normal square that he could go, right? And then you could capture and capture, whatever, however you decide to capture. But he can choose to go 2 spaces. Now and only on the next turn, you can do en passant. Okay? Let's say you go one move, and say, okay, I want to en passant. Now that is unavailable to you because it's only for the turn that immediately follows where he skipped your capture square. Okay? And that's it. That's it for pawns. So now I want to talk about uh, bishops. Now a little quiz. How many points is the pawn worth? Okay, if you said 1, you're right. 1 point. It's worth 1 point. I'll try to keep asking you guys, see if you can keep up with me. The bishop is worth 3 points. Okay, the bishop moves diagonally, but it can go as many squares as it wants on the diagonal. It can also go backwards. The pawn is the only piece that cannot go backwards, right? So it can go all the way over here. But ask yourself, would this be a good move? Even though you can make it, it's their turn, right? Even though you can do this, is this a good move? This is they can take you for free, right? So it's not a good move. Um, so once you go here, actually let's go here. How many squares can the bishop go? And I'll give you guys 5 seconds. Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. Now also keep in mind that the bishop cannot jump over any pieces. So once it's blocked, now how many squares can it go? Unfortunately, 1. Okay, let's break that back. How many squares can it go now? And I'll give you about another 5 seconds. See if you can count. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And since the opponent's piece is here, we take. Now, when you capture a piece, you land on the square that you capture on. Okay? So unlike checkers where you jump over the piece, in chess, you land on the piece. So we would land on the square that we capture. Okay? Now, bishops are great at cutting the board. One little tidbit is that you can control pretty much half of the board by placing your bishop on the side, like this, basically cutting the board in half. And this is called the fianchetto, which we'll learn in a little bit. But let's go on to our next piece. Our next piece is a rook. The rook can go up It can go down, and it can go left, and it can go right. Okay? So up, down, left, right. And as long as nothing's in the way. Right? So like let's say you were to go here. Now unfortunately this rook can only go 2 squares. Right? It can only go down. Okay? And it's a really good protector of files and ranks. Ranks are these of one, this is the first rank, second rank, third rank, fourth rank, fifth rank, sixth rank, seventh rank, eighth rank. And these are the files. This is the A file. So A file, B file. So if you can count to 8 and you know your alphabet to at least H, you can play some chess. All right. So bam, you can go up, down. So let's make some moves. All the way over here. Let's say we wanted to take this. Right, this wouldn't be a good move, obviously, because we're giving away a piece. The rook is also worth 5 points. It's a bit stronger than the bishop, point-wise. Uh, it's a bit more valuable than a bishop. Okay. The rook is really, really, really good at protecting files. So let's say that this was a pawn, and you this is a pawn, sorry, and you just wanted to push something. A rook is really good at pushing because it stays behind it. It kind of protects the push, so you can gain a lot of space with a rook behind a pawn. Also, when you want to advance a pawn, it's good to put your rooks behind the pawn, so like under the pawn, so it can push. Okay. Next piece we're going to talk about is the queen. How many points is the bishop worth? Do you guys remember? Give you 2 seconds. Okay. And the rook? How about the pawn? Hmm. How about 3 pawns and a bishop? Did I stump you? All right. Let's go over. How about the rook? All right. The rook is worth 5 points. The bishop is worth 3. The pawns are worth 1 each. So the queen is worth 9 points. Okay. The queen is worth 9 points, and it is your strongest piece. Okay. Your queen can basically move like a bishop or like a rook. So it can go diagonally, right? Let's make sure that nothing is in the way first. So I can go diagonally. And it can also go up, down, left, right. Okay. Although it cannot jump over pieces. Okay. So at the moment it can only go diagonally. But let's say this queen were to move. Then it can go diagonally this way. It can go up. It can go to the left, back, right. Really, really, really strong piece. So a good tip is you don't want to move your queen too early in the opening. Okay, you want to develop your other pieces, get your other pieces active, then move your queen so you can activate some more pieces and then attack with all of your pieces. That's a good strategy in chess. So we don't really want to move the queen in the opening, but there are some openings. There's always exceptions to any rule, and chess is no different. So also the queen, although it can move diagonally and up, down, left, right, so vertically and horizontally, um, it can't do them at the same time. So you have to choose. Either it goes diagonally or it goes vertically or horizontally. So you choose first. So go diagonally, or if you want to move it, let's say it's over here first. Diagonally, and then if it goes here, then okay, now I can move over here or something. Okay. All right, just making sure that you guys remember. Pawn is worth 1. Bishop is worth 3 points. Rook is worth 5 points. Queen is worth 9 points. Okay. Now we're going to get into a kind of tricky piece. And this is the only piece that can jump over a piece. And that is a knight. and the knight moves like an L. So if you guys know that if you've ever played Tetris, there's an L-shaped piece. So basically, however you can turn that L-shaped piece is how you can move the knight, right? So we go, not counting the square that it's on, one, two, and then we can turn either this way or this way, right? So you go left or right. Again, keeping that L shape. Um, so let's say we go this way. And so now we have a little bit more mobility, so we can go either up, so not counting the square that we're on, one, two, and it can turn left or it can turn right. So it can land on one of these two squares. So you can go here or you can go here. Now you can also go here. Now counting the square that it's on, it goes one, two, and it goes left or right. So it can land on this square or it can land on that square. Next one, it can either go this way or that way. So I'll point out all the squares. The knight in the middle of the board can go to 8 squares, so it's good to bring your knight to the middle instead of to the side, but there are some openings that you do bring to the side. The world champion played a game recently where he played this on move 2, the knight to the side. So something, chess is interesting, right? On the side, the knight can only jump to 4 squares. It's pretty sad. They have a saying for this. It's the knight on the rim is dim or grim. Depends on the chess coach you had. Okay. I just want to show you guys that a knight in the corner can only go to 2 squares. So be careful of that. Okay, great. The next piece. The next piece is the king. And the king goes one space in any direction. So it goes, and I'll put my king in the middle of the board so you guys can see that. Right, so it goes, let's say here, here, here. Okay, so it can go like this. It can go to all of these squares. And your king is your weakest piece. Also, sorry, the knight is worth 3 points as well. 3 points, 5 points for the rook, 3 points for the bishop. So the bishop and the knight are the same, although people argue about that, but they're about the same. Queen is worth 9. Pawns are all worth 1. King is worth 0 or infinity, whichever one you want. The king is a whole game, and you cannot take the king. You can never take the king. Now, what you have to keep in mind is that the king is the one that you have to protect. So when it comes under fire, or it gets attacked, it's called check. Check means I'm attacking your king, and you have to resolve that by the end of your turn. A king cannot be uh, in check by at the end of his turn. That is an illegal move. So let's say I'm white here, and I'm like, okay, he's checking me, but I'm gonna move another piece. Unfortunately, you can't because you must resolve the check first. You have to say it. You have to get out of check first. Okay, so let's save our monarch. Let's save our king. We have a lot of different options. So we can actually let's go move back. Okay, great. So when it comes to check, and you probably have heard the term checkmate. Okay. And BK Champ, is this a gentleman color? Or is it just this is just us. Just us. Um just doing some beginner breakdown. So the 3 ways that you can get out of check is to capture the piece that is attacking you. So this bishop is attacking me, right? The bishop is on this diagonal. To resolve that, I can take it. or I can put something in the way of the attacker, right? So the bishop is attacking me on this line. I can put my queen in the way, and now my king is not attacked because it's now attacking the queen. Okay. The next one is to run. Okay, you can run away. Now the bishop is no longer attacking you. And we call this CPR. Okay. Just like in real life, capture, protect, or run. If you cannot give your king CPR, your king is checkmated. Now let's look at an example that happens quite often, and this is from the Scholar's Mate. It happens a lot in actually Scholastic tournaments. Um, okay, and this is a checkmate in 4 moves. The king cannot capture the queen because he would end up in check at the end of his turn. Okay, the king cannot protect since it's too close, so you cannot put a piece in the way. And the king cannot run because all of the squares are either covered or other pieces are there. So, unfortunately, this is checkmate. Okay, there's one more thing I want to show you guys. So, um, this happens in the game, so let's just play a few moves. There's one more move. I said that the king can only go one space at a time. Unfortunately, I lied. For instructional purposes, I lied. Um, the king has this special move when either the rook, so when both the rook and the king have not moved and no other pieces in the way, you can do a special move called castling. So you take the king 2 spaces over, and the only time that the king can go 2 spaces, and the rook comes right over. So the king comes here, then the rook comes over, and it comes right here. Okay? So let's make a move for black, and then bam. Okay? This is called castling. Okay, you can only do this once per game, but if you move your king, or you move the rook that you wanted to castle with, it is illegal. You cannot do that. You will go to chess jail. And this you can do it on both sides. So let's just get the pieces out of the way. So you can do it on either this side or on this side. So you can go 1, 2, and then the rook would come all the way over and come over here. This is a long castle or a queenside castle because the queen starts on this side. Or you can do a kingside castle because the king starts on this side. Okay, so we can do a queenside castle or we can do a kingside castle. Okay. Next. All right, so now that you guys know this, I also want to give you a few rules about castling. Okay, so castling. Actually, let me go to the line that. Where's the castling line? Okay, so castling cannot happen when you are in check. So when something is attacking your king, you cannot castle out of check. Okay, you cannot castle into check. So for instance, let's say this queen is smooth this. Take, take. Right? If I wanted to kingside castle, unfortunately I can't because the queen covers this square. So then it would be an illegal move because I cannot end up in check. Also, let's say that I wanted to castle. I cannot castle because I'm passing through check. Right? The queen covers that square. So I would have to go. I can't go here. So I can't do it. Can't pass through check. So you cannot be in check. You cannot pass through check. And you cannot end up in check. Although I can castle this way, which is totally legal. Okay. So you guys are officially ready to start a game. Although I want to quiz you. Now, let's see if you can do it and just follow along at home. You don't have to write it in the chat. Just follow along at home, and I'm gonna give you the piece values one more time, and then I'm gonna have you do some addition. So pawn is worth 1, knight is worth 3, bishop is worth 3, the rook is worth 5, the queen is worth 9, and the king is 0. Okay. So how much are 2 rooks worth? 10. Okay. The bishops, 2 bishops, 6, 4 pawns, and a knight, 7. Okay. Now let's count all of white's pieces. Let's see how good your mental math is. All right. It is 39. So count along with me. 5 plus 5 is 10, right? 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12, right? Because we have two sets of those. All right, so 12 plus the 10 that we already had is 22, plus 8 pawns is 30, plus 9 is 39, and 39 plus 0 is 39. So if you got that, give yourself a round of applause. If not, we'll get there. All right. Here we go. I'm going to teach you some opening principles of what you should do or what you shouldn't do in the opening uh, to become a good chess player, or to at least survive the opening. What you want to do is you want to move a pawn that develops a piece and guides you towards castling. What this means is you want to move the pawn, you want to get some center influence. You want to control these 4 squares. You want to have some kind of influence on these 4 squares. This is called the center. Okay? And I move this pawn because it lets me develop my bishop, it lets me develop my queen, even though I'm not going to develop my queen so soon. It just opens it up for me. Okay. He takes the center. Okay. Now this pawn is not protected by anything, meaning that nothing is backing it up. So I always want to move my pieces being the ones on the back row, to attack and to do some. So I always want to develop my pieces, um, and I also want to attack. So bam, I'm attacking a piece, and I develop one of my pieces. And this is one of the most common moves. And they defend the piece while developing a piece of their own. Okay. I develop one of my other pieces. I can put it here. I can put it there. Let's put it here. Okay. And this bishop is actually eyeing the weakest square on the board. The reason that this is the weakest square on the board is because the king is the weakest piece on the board, and it's the only protector of this pawn, the f7, and also for white, the f2 pawn. Okay. The knight moves. Let's say you castle. You can play d3. You can play. There's so many moves here. But let's play this. Defend our pawn. Now allowing this bishop to get into the game. Maybe here. You have so many options. But you want to get your pieces developed so that you can have an efficient team. I always give the example in my classes. Is a basketball team consistent of 1 player or 5 players, right? And does only one guy dribble up the court, or do 5 guys all go up the court at the same time to make a play? The same thing with your pieces. You want to get all of your pieces out so they can start attacking and they can start moving, and that way you can attack more efficiently. Um, so that's another point why castling is so good, because it brings the rook to the center so that now you can attack with the rook as well, instead of it being on the corner or in the corner. Sorry. Let's say they develop their bishop, and now I'm going to castle. I have castle. This is a perfectly fine position. Both people have played well, and this is pretty much an even game. Okay. The next step is, hey, what happens if my opponent doesn't play well? If they're just doing random moves? Okay. So let's say white sits down on the board, and chess is a pretty serious game. Um, really, really serious game. And what you want to kind of understand is that let's say you sit down on the board, bam, your opponent makes a move. Now, what you want to understand is that okay, if they don't take the center, right, they're not really having any center influence. Although this is uh kind of controlling the center, you want to take the center. Okay, you have a pawn here controlling this square, controlling that square, so you're pretty good shape. Okay, um, let's say they play here, right? So first of all, they move the poison pawn. So whenever they move the poison pawn, you always want to look for this diagonal to open, right? You want to move this diagonal, bam, bam, right? This diagonal becomes very, very vulnerable when this pawn moves, okay? So if you can find check to the king, you have checkmate. I'll give you 5 seconds to find it. Found it? All right. The move is queen h4, checkmate. And this is actually called the fool's mate because only a fool will develop on the side like this. Not taking any center, you're not doing anything for the center. There's no strategy. You're blocking your knight from the natural square. The bishop is blocked. So just based off of principle, this is not good. Like let's say we didn't have this mate, this opening wouldn't be good because we're not following the opening principles. We want to get our knights out. We want to get our bishop out. We want a castle, and this does neither. Okay. Okay. So whenever you see this move, or whenever you see f6 or one of these two, you have to just take a step back and say, how can I exploit this? Can I take the center? Um, yeah, and just develop your pieces. If you're not sure what to do, look at your opponent's threats. If they don't have anything, develop a piece. Okay. I think you guys are pretty much ready to play a game. Yeah, I think you guys are pretty much ready to play a game. Uh, so let's go and let's see how we can use it. And I might lose. I'm a bit rusty. I haven't played some chess in a while. But let's see if we can do this. Just have to switch the analysis board to bam. Okay, great. So I'm gonna challenge a random opponent, and let's see if I can talk while I play. So I'm gonna go into the 3-minute pool. Okay, this guy's about the same strength as I am, right? At least out here. So he's opening it up, right? So now his bishop can move, his queen can move. I'm gonna play the asymmetrical opening. I'm gonna take it from the side, right? His knight's developing, right? Right, taking control of these two squares. I also want to take control of those two squares. He's breaking the center since I didn't take the center. He's gonna try to put his pieces in the center, right? Now I don't want to take here because that would let him develop his queen. I'd rather him take first, and then I take with the pawn. Then if he develops his queen, now it's my move. If I take, now his queen's in the center, and now it's not so good. So I'm going to play this move. Okay. And we're gonna go into the Sicilian defense, and this is called this is the open variation, and it's the accelerated dragon. Okay, and I will take this way. I think I'm going to push d5 soon. Threatening this, right? Because he didn't really take the center. Okay, so I want to have this in the center. Maybe here. Right? I still have to develop this piece. This looks like a target for me, right? If I bring my rook over. Okay, now I can take the center. And I will do just that. Maybe he has bishop c5. Okay. Where does this bishop belong? Hmm. Let's make it protect this pawn. Just in case he's attacking my knight, right? So if I don't do anything, then he can take my knight, I take it, and now this has two attackers and one defender before because his bishop wasn't there. So just want to overprotect my pieces. So let's see what he wants to do. If he takes my knight with his bishop, he has no more attacking chances. All of my pawns are connected here, and I have a majority. He's attacking my piece here, so I'm going to come back and protect it with my bishop. And also, maybe I want to move this in the center. Okay, so he's attacking this one more time. Okay, so I'm going to push and ask him, where's he going to put his knight? Right? It has to go to an awkward square. It either goes to the rim, right? And we already know that knights on the rim are dim. Okay. So let's see what we can play. Well, we can try to do a little checkmate threat, right? Okay, let's try a little checkmate threat, right? Because the bishop is backing it up, and then if it plays here, then I'll play here, furthering my queenside advancement. Okay. Um, hmm. He okay. Just gonna attack here, and then I'll play here, and now I win a piece, right? Because I take, and then I take the bishop, and now he's only taking the pawn, and I gotta move a little bit faster, so I'll stop commenting for a little bit. Commenting. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take, right? Because when you're up, you should trade down. And I don't think he can defend his piece. So, okay, he wants to do that. That's fine by me. All right, great. Let's play here. He has no prospects over here. I can just take. Okay, I'll take this way. Then I will take here. And I'm gonna trade off. I'm gonna trade off. Put a piece behind it. And now you can see that we're just winning. We're obviously winning. He's probably gonna win on time. Give me that. Okay. But if you can see, I just played normal chess and we achieved a winning position. Super simple. very easy to calculate. And this is the basics. And if you can understand the basics and do the basics well, then you can get to a level where you can go to any chess club and do do well with any of the chess club members. I would say a solid 1600 if you can get all of the basics down, and sometimes even 1800. There are some people who just don't know how to develop pieces. They're too focused on one or two things, or they saw something in a blitz match and they're trying to replicate it. So there we go. We will get into some more stuff like tactics, but that's not for this stream. This stream is just a beginner breakdown of the pieces, how to move the pieces, and how to develop your pieces. So hopefully this was instructive. The next lesson we'll go over some tactics. And let me know if you liked it in the comment section down below. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notified whenever I upload. And as always, love, peace, chicken grease. Take care, guys, and have a wonderful day. Peace out.